In today's rapidly evolving business landscape, organizations are constantly seeking ways to optimize process and improve efficiency. Technology often takes center stage as a perceived solution, but we have to ask ourselves, is this truly the answer? Stay tuned, good listener, and find out. But first, welcome to the Hope is Not a Plane podcast, where we address tough questions head on, face our problems, and highlight our hopes by providing actionable planning steps to improve ourselves, mind, body, and spirit. Now, let's get logged in and get locked on to this episode of the Hope is Not a Plane podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 16, Why People Drive Change, Not Technology. Before I dive into this, let me share again that this is my opinion, my thoughts, my experiences, not those of my former or current employers. So, I'm your host, Kevin Pennell. I've been helping people put their hope into action for over 2 decades across the U.S. military, emergency management, public safety, and healthcare information technology industries. This podcast seeks to provide you, the listener and viewer, when I put out videos, with practical and action-oriented tools to foster that fire that hope ignites and then take action to transform your personal and professional lives. So let's get after this. In many industries that I've been part of, there's existed the fallacy of a tech fix, the new gadget that helps us do better at response, or the new software that fixes something in the healthcare space. Some organizations see a snazzy new technology as a panacea for any process challenge. But it's not surprising, right? Have you ever heard a sales pitch from a software company before? If not, I'll share that you will leave that meeting thinking that they can solve world hunger with that product. If you have heard the sales end of a new technology, then you know when it's time to implement a solution, the same workflow or organizational challenge or change management issues still exist. They're still there. For example, let's say we are a customer service organization and we have a new customer relationship management system or CRM. It's not going to fix the fact that our folks don't provide good customer service and the underlying sales practices are inefficient. So how do we address it? For me, we have to look at what I call the broken process paradox. So this paradox exists because a flawed process will remain flawed regardless of the technological solution, right? If we enact behavioral change in parallel or preferably before we implement the new technology, that will make a big difference. Implementing a sophisticated new software on top of a broken process is akin to applying a high-tech bandage to a festering wound, right? It might look different, but it doesn't address the root cause of the problem. The wound is still there. So what are consequences for not acknowledging and seeking to improve these broken processes? Well, we can have errors in data migration. We can continue to replicate the same inefficient customer service processes and have disgruntled customers and lose business. So instead of so much focus on the technology, let's hone in on the most critical factor to successful change: people. Well, before we sign the purchase order, we agree to a statement of work or gather technical requirements, we have to address and understand our users' needs. We have to address customer pain points. We have to create and foster a culture of change and adoptions. This is where I've found Prosci, Prosci, the ADKAR, Awareness, Desire, Knowledge, Ability, Reinforcement, to be a helpful reference and guideline. And I've talked about that here before. I've mentioned it, but now we're going to kind of dive into it in relation to how we can use this to really change people, then put together some technology that's going to augment the personnel or people changes that we make. I use the term guideline because we need to remember that we can't be too rigid in our planning, right? We want to make this big change, but people matter, economies change. We have to be flexible, right? We should instead use all of our learned knowledge as frameworks for identifying and addressing individual and organizational changes. So how do we implement that ADKAR? Here are some ideas. Here are some thoughts. We must have buy-in and active support from leadership. We can't just at the beginning to be told, yep, we're going to do that. It has to be active throughout, right? The change should be a statement of what's to come, not what we hope we will do. This is different from a mandate, right? Which at times we have to do. If there's safety, regulatory, legal things, we've got to abide by mandates. But instead, let's leverage that executive leader's position and leadership capital to drive the change from the top down, to support it even. So awareness will come from the organization's recognition that something must change, right? In examples, the people in the process is not just the technologies, like we talked about before. D for desire. to change should be encouraged, accepted, fostered from our leaders, right? We must connect with our people and keep them fully informed of what's coming and why it's needed. K, knowledge on how to change will come from solid discussions, planning, execution, right? And knowledge of what's happening and when should be communicated to our team members regularly. A, ability. It's to be provided through education, training, encouragement to all levels of the organization. There should be no pockets of folks that don't know what's happening. This can happen through scheduled trainings, professional education, and regular town hall style meetings that directly address people's fears, right? We have to not just say, hey, this big change is coming and we need this. We have to let folks know we're going to give you the ability to use this new thing, to know how this fits into what we do and make you comfortable with it. And the last thing from ADKAR R is reinforcement. It should be regular from leaders at all levels and from super users, right? And super user concepts are embedded team members who've embraced the change or are excited about it. They help monitor what's going on, right? It's going, and planning and change management teams can do better and where to keep on trucking, right? So they're going to tell us, there are inside people, what's working well, what's not, what's the word on the street. Change should also be revisited at regular intervals once we put it in place. Did this thing make a difference? We've talked about key performance indicators here, KPIs. Did we get those at the beginning? There are change KPIs as well. So I'm not saying at all that technology is the enemy. I love technology, or that it doesn't solve problems. I mean, heck, for me, technology by way of a Da Vinci robot saved my life 15 years ago this month when I had kidney cancer. That's technology. But the process of screening me as a patient, of determining which solution used to get rid of my kidney cancer, and then using this Da Vinci robot and selecting the right person that controlled the robot is what worked, not just the technology. So instead, let's look at tech as a change enabler, right? A powerful tool to support well-designed change. Here's the call to action for each of us as we go to look and spend money wisely and be on schedule and keep things in scope and just do the best we can for ourselves, our teams, right? As us and our teams and our organization begin to take on these new technologies that are emerging all the time, that are meant to address specific issues, that talk about how the technology addresses this thing or that thing, think about whether you and your people feel the need for change, right? If the leaders have a desire to fight the change fight, if you can impart the knowledge for change, if you have the ability in people, time, and money, because if you don't, you're going to waste people's time and money. And how will you reinforce the change, right? During and after it's happened. I prompt you, and I have no affiliation other than I am a certified Prosci change management practitioner. Go to the website, prosci.com, and they have tons of great resources. You can get training from them, you can get certified, and then train people in your own organization. Change is about the people, right? Today, I think we agree that technology is a tool. It's not a silver bullet. I think we understand together that successful change hinges on a people-centric approach, understanding and managing human behavior throughout the process. Prosci's ADKAR is a good framework, but it's not the only way. The gist of it is we need to know we need to change. We need to support that change. We need to foster that change. We need to ask for leadership and insist to some extent that they push people through change that are resistant once we've addressed those people's fears. Finally, but most importantly, again, without that leadership buy-in, without the ongoing support, the change will fail. I've seen it. You've seen it. Leaders see it. So let's use our hope to ignite the change that we need to see in our organizations. And then let's take action to transform ourselves, our teams, and our institutes to where we want to be through solid, high-level supported change management processes. Because again, in the end, people drive change, not technology. Thank you, everybody, for using your technology to listen to the Hope is Not a Plan podcast. We've got a new URL. It's hopeisnotaplan.org, so you don't have to truncate it at all. That is where previous episodes are, a bit about me, again, my background. You can ask me a question. Please do. Go to hopeisnotaplan.org, ask me a question, and let's talk about some things that you want to hear about. You can follow me at Hope's Not a Plan, Twitter and Instagram. Hope is Not a Plan just passed 400,000 views. It's about up to 410,000 views already. Our YouTube channel where I share largely fitness 15 seconds at a time. You can get some great ideas. You can share, leave me comments there as well in those videos, some cold plunge, some fitness. And remember, everybody, we are the ones that change. We use the technology, we drive it, we made it. Don't let it overtake the right thing to do with your people. Thank you so much for using your technology on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, to listen to the Hope Is Not a Plan podcast. Stay safe out there, everybody. Wash those hands, and I wish you all Godspeed.